The Legion Go was one of the most interesting handhelds when it first came out. Taking more inspiration from the Nintendo Switch led it to being rather unique amongst its PC brethren, and for that, it became incredibly popular. The detachable controllers, the mouse mode, the massive high resolution screen, and at the time, faster memory that led to it being one of the most performant versions of the Z1 Extreme we've seen. And at the time, it was one of the most simple handhelds to use when connecting an external GPU. It was heralded as the Nintendo Switch Pro, the Pro version we never saw, which, in retrospect, kind of funny, but we would eventually get the Switch 2, obviously released a few months ago at this point. But that does beg the question, where is the Legion Go 2? It's been a couple of years now since the original Legion Go first released, and people are clamoring, they want it. They see the performance and battery gains that you get with the Z2 Extreme, and people are ready. Though I would argue, does it make a huge amount of sense to upgrade right away? But from what we currently know, we first originally saw the Legion Go 2 at Computex back in January of 2025, and at the time, it was a prototype. We really didn't know much about it. We knew it was switching its display out for a high-resolution 2560 by 1440p display to a lower 1080p display, which some people dislike, but I personally think it makes quite a bit of sense, especially since that you're unlikely to ever be able to run a game on an integrated graphics, at least these days, at 1440p unless you were playing like an indie game. 1080p at 8 inches is still plenty pixel dense and really sharp still, so I don't see it as much an issue as some people do. But we have finally got not just credible leaks, but a full 20-minute breakdown of the Legion Go 2 prototype, which it may or may not be a prototype. It looks pretty finished, all things considered, so you could either take it with a grain of salt, but according to some recent leaks and rumors, we're supposedly getting this in September, which places it just 2 months away from release, which, judging by how finished the device looks, actually makes a lot of sense. So I'm inclined to believe the September rumors, just given how finished the device looks. The leak is from a source by the name of Inyo on YouTube. It was a full 20-minute long YouTube video fully showcasing device and showing how it performs, looking at benchmarks, and revealing system specs. As in, this device will have multiple variants, some with the Z2 Extreme and some with the baseline Z2, which is rather interesting, which probably leads to the potential of the Z2 Extreme variant costing quite a bit more than we might have originally anticipated. It being $800 might not be the case. It might end up being $1,000, and then they might, after that, have the Z2 non-extreme placed at about $600 to $700, while keeping the Z2 Go equipped ROG Ally S at $500 to $600. The moment you start speccing those up and increasing RAM or storage capacities, that pushes you closer to the next tier up, and you're like, well, might as well buy that one. Oh, but this one doesn't have enough storage, so I might as well upgrade it. Then that pushes you up to the next one, and it's just a never-ending price ladder of getting you to spend more and more money. Very similar thing to what Apple does. And seeing that they're having multiple specs and keeping the Legion Go S around makes me believe that that is the entire purpose of this whole system that they're setting up. We also see that it has 8,000 mega transfer per second memory, which is incredibly fast. With that, we also see a change in the display. It's still a now lower 1080p like we assumed and saw before, but now it's OLED, which some might take as a downside or an upside. OLED, you get more efficient and lower overall battery consumption in the display. There are caveats though. In the past, getting an OLED VRR display was either impossible, too difficult, or incredibly expensive. But from what it looks like, they've managed to equip this with an OLED VRR display. On top of that is 144 Hz, which isn't too insane, considering we see a lot of these with 120 hertz display, so the extra 24 hertz probably won't help you that much, but it's just nice to see a bigger number. We also see that it will be using the 780M integrated graphics with the Z2 non-extreme processor, which is fine. It just essentially makes this a Z1 Extreme. I was under the impression, because when we saw the Z2 Extreme get revealed, we saw it get revealed with the 890M. It has 16 compute units and 16 RT cores. It was going to be a pretty powerful GPU, and we've seen it used in some PC handhelds already, but not necessarily with the Z2 Extreme, but with the Ryzen AI Max 370 or 380 something or others. Way too long of a name for me to possibly remember it accurately consistently. For those of you who are unaware though, there was another CPU that launched with a new iGPU, and it was pretty powerful. It was a little bit more powerful than the Z1 Extreme, and that was the processors that come equipped with the 880M, which, judging by their past, I would have assumed the Z2 non-extreme would have been equipped with this lower tier GPU, because it's going to be using the same Zen 5 architecture. But looking into it more deeply, the Z2 non-extreme is 8 cores using Zen 4 architecture with 16 threads, and also the same amount of compute units, which makes sense. It could still use the 880M, but it ends up just being the 780M, which begs the question, is the Z2 non-extreme literally just the Z1 Extreme? It's not a bad thing by any means, but to blatantly just change its name, granted lower tiered now, but it's functionally, it is identically the same thing. It is also 8 core, it's also 16 threads, it uses the 780M. The primary difference, we're seeing this one just ship with faster memory. So yes, potentially it could be more powerful, but it probably won't, especially compared to something like the ROG Ally X that has 7,500 megatransfer per second DDR5, which is incredibly fast. Though I highly doubt the extra 500 megahertz is really gonna change anything, and depending how much RAM this device comes with, could potentially perform worse in certain titles if you can't allocate more memory to it, or the same amount of memory to it as the Z1 Extreme does in the ROG Ally X. They have 24 gigs, with 8 gigs of that dedicated to the GPU. If this just comes with 16 gigs like pretty much every PC handheld has before, unless you spec it up, it really doesn't gonna actually produce any actual appreciable performance increases outside of maybe better driver optimization and benefits in faster, more memory intensive games. Rant aside about the processor, this is still a really cool looking device. Though I'm not a huge fan of the disc-shaped D-pad, everything else seems to be very cool. It retains the trackpad on the corner, it retains its cool mouse functionality, which everybody's going to equate to copying the Switch 2, because a bunch of Nintendo fans probably didn't realize the original Legion Go, you could technically look at it as Nintendo copied Lenovo. I'm sure Nintendo was working on the Switch 2 long before the Legion Go originally came out with its mouse mode, but maybe not. And maybe Nintendo saw it and like, that's actually kind of cool, and copied it. You know, and that would make some sort of karmic sense. The Legion Go saw the detachable controllers, the kickstand, and sort of tablet mode in general from the Switch, and like, that's really cool, let's make that a computer, and did it. And they improved upon it by having the mouse mode. And Nintendo saw the mouse mode and like, hey, that's a cool and interesting way to play. Let's adopt it for our device. And then they're all happy and nobody's suing each other. Which most likely is the case, because it's kind of hard to patent the idea of a mouse. Pretty sure Apple tried to sue somebody about that in the 90s. It is also important to note that we do not seem to have any Steam buttons on this one, so it's unlikely that there will be a SteamOS version of the Legion Go 2. There might be potential later down the road to get a SteamOS edition, but as it currently stands, and from what we've seen in the video, this is going to be a Windows first and only device. And launching at September would make a lot of sense, especially when they get out ahead of Microsoft's handheld. That's potentially coming out later this year as well. Though I would honestly love to hear what you guys think about this. Are you at all interested in this Legion Go 2? Have you considered buying it? Are you waiting for it in particular? And are you excited about the leaks and rumors? I would love to hear all of what you guys think down below. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All the other social media coverage down below. And last but not least, have a wonderful day.